Jeff Paur, senior writer for RealTime Fantasy Sports, and welcome to another edition of the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. On today's RealTime Fantasy Sports Show, I'm going to give you 5 fantasy takeaways from week 2 of the fantasy season. So I'm going to look at 5 different topics, and I think you can guess what's going to lead my fantasy takeaways for this week. So I'll just dive right into it right now, and that's it. Number 1, injuries dominate week 2. Man, that was a rough week for a lot of fantasy teams because of the injuries. Tons of players went down with injuries, especially key players on a lot of fantasy lineups. I mean, 2 of the top 3 fantasy picks were hurt this week: Christian McCaffrey, Saquon, Barkley. So I'm going to quickly run through these injuries. It may take me a while because there's a lot of them, though, unfortunately. All right, Saquon Barkley, likely torn ACL. We'll find out today, but it looks like he tore his ACL. He'll be done for the year, leaving a huge hole in fantasy lineups. Cam Akers, rib injury. He suffered a rib injury early in the game for Los Angeles, was not able to return. Devontae Adams, he suffered a hamstring injury, and he did not return to the lineup. This doesn't seem overly serious, but he could still miss some time with this one. Christian McCaffrey, like I said, he was hurt, injured his ankle. He had a pretty big day before the injury, but he is getting an MRI today to get a little more clarity on his ankle injury. But again, another player that could miss some time because of the injury, and that'll be a huge loss for fantasy owners. Paris Campbell, he had a big week 1. Week 2, he hurt his knee. He avoided an ACL tear. That's the initial thoughts, but he did still suffer a knee injury, and he could also miss some time going forward because of this injury. Jimmy Garoppolo suffered a high ankle sprain for San Francisco, could not return in the second half. And this is the dreaded high ankle sprain. So as we know with these type injuries, he could also miss some time. His teammate Raheem Mostert also injured. He suffered a sprained knee. Doesn't seem too serious though, and there is hope he might be able to play this week, but he could miss some time as well. Drew Lock, quarterback for Denver. He hurt his shoulder, was unable to return. He could miss a couple weeks with this injury, leaving a big hole at quarterback for Denver. Cortland Sutton, Lock's teammate, he also got hurt in that game. Knee injury. He left the game early. Again, this was not an ACL tear. Looks more like a sprain, but still could be something that keeps him out for a couple weeks of action. Brashard Perryman, Jets receiver who was supposed to be the number 1 target for them this year, he suffered an ankle injury in his game and could not finish the game. Another player that could miss some time going forward. So Tyrod Taylor, he was not hurt during the game, but before the game, he ended up getting taken to the hospital because of a chest injury. He was unable to play. Los Angeles Chargers say that he is going to be their starter going forward when he's healthy. What we don't really know the severity of this injury. It seems like he avoided something too serious, but it's definitely something to watch going forward. All right, my last injury after I ran off all of those, Will Fuller. Not a huge surprise considering his history, but he was in and out of the game because of a hamstring injury, didn't catch a pass. It was disappointing to see him hurt once again, especially considering his history and how well he played in week 1. So this will be an injury to keep an eye on as well. All right, let me catch my breath after that. Wow, that is a lot of injuries. I can't remember a week like that in fantasy in the last several years. Just devastating. Hopefully we don't see that again going forward. All right, my number 2 takeaway, Cam Newton is back. Yes, I think Cam Newton is back to his form of past seasons. He looks healthy. Week 1 was encouraging for me, but this week on the road against Seattle was more impressive. 30 of 44 passing, 397 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Also ran the ball 11 times for 47 yards and 2 touchdowns. He looks back. I think he could be a top fantasy player all year long. He's doing very well in this offense. The Patriots have really catered it to his style of play, and he is throwing the ball well with a lot of zip, anticipating his throws with good accuracy. I really have been impressed with Newton to start the year, and it's good to see him back to his old form. All right, number 3 takeaway, Josh Allen has taken his game to a new level. All right, first of all, I know he played the Jets and Dolphins to start the year, so those are 2 great matchups. Could have elevated his numbers a little bit, but still, he looks really good. 2 straight 300-yard games, 3+ touchdowns each game as well. Threw for 417 yards in this last game, 4 touchdowns. Seems to have a great rapport with Stephon Diggs. John Brown's still there, top deep threat. He's hitting him in the passing game as well. Josh Allen just looks super to start the year, and I think all those fantasy teams that drafted him are going to be very happy. All right, my next fantasy takeaway for week 2, rookies make their mark. I think the rookie class is looking very good right now. A lot of good performances this week from the rookies. Let me run through them for you. Joe Burrow, 316 passing yards, 3 touchdowns for the Bengals. Justin Herbert, who was a surprise starter, 311 passing yards, a passing touchdown, ran in a touchdown as well. And he did this against the Chiefs on the road as a last-minute starter. Very impressive. I would think the Chargers would strongly consider starting him going forward, but it seems like Taylor could be the guy for now, but we'll see how long that stays, because Herbert was very impressive in this game against Kansas City. Jonathan Taylor in Indianapolis, 101 rushing yards, touchdown, got the chance to start for Indianapolis because of the injury to Marlon Mack. He'll be the starter going forward. He got a ton of work in this game, and this could be the case all season long, especially in this run-heavy Colts offense. Another rookie that was impressive, James Robinson of Jacksonville. 102 rushing yards, a touchdown. He's an undrafted free agent, has looked very good to start the year, seems to have a pretty good grasp of the starting job in Jacksonville, and he could really be a fantasy surprise this season. In the receiver rookie class, we have 2 of them that stood out this week. CeeDee Lamb, 6 catches, 106 yards, flashed his big-time potential in their comeback victory against the Falcons. Lamb looked great in this one. Also, Chase Claypool, 3 catches for 88 yards and a spectacular touchdown catch. Claypool looks like the real deal for Pittsburgh. Could get a lot of targets all season long, especially in the red zone. This guy's a big-time talented player. So those were a lot of rookies that showed well in week 2, really made an impression on me. So I was impressed to see that for all you fantasy owners out there. Hopefully some of these guys were in your lineups. All right, my last takeaway for week 2 is some running back situations remain as clear as mud. Yes, we still have several timeshares. A lot of situations just aren't clearing up for fantasy owners. Some scary stuff going on. I'm going to run through them really quick. Ravens, Gus Edwards led the team in rushing this week. Yes, Gus Edwards. 10 carries, 73 yards. No one saw that one coming. Mark Ingram was better this week, but he ran just 9 times, 55 yards and a touchdown. J.K. Dobbins had just 2 carries, but he ran for 48 yards. So all 3 of these guys got work. And again, it's going to be a rotating situation. You don't know who's going to be the best back from week to week in Baltimore at the moment. Miami, same situation. Myles Gaskin, 7 carries. Matt Breida, 7 carries. Jordan Howard, 5 carries. Just not a situation that you can trust for fantasy owners. Maybe use these guys in the flex spot, but I wouldn't use them as anything more than that. The Rams, so I talked about it earlier. Cam Akers was hurt with a rib injury, but Darrell Henderson was the guy who got the most work and shined. He did next to nothing in week 1. This week, he gets 12 carries for 81 yards and a touchdown. Looked very good. Malcolm Brown was still in the mix, though. He had 11 carries for 47 yards. Again, tough situation for fantasy owners. Darrell Henderson was not the guy last week. This week he was. Brown was the guy last week. This week he was just so-so. Again, a very tough situation for fantasy owners to figure out. I sound like a broken record here. All right, Detroit Lions, Adrian Peterson, 7 carries. Kerryon Johnson, 8 carries. DeAndre Swift, 5 carries. Just like Miami, tough situation. These guys are all splitting work evenly. I'm just not sure you can trust any of them at the moment. Use at your own risk. The Steelers, we heard big talk before their game this week. It was going to be a timeshare with James Conner and Benny Snell splitting the work. Did that happen this week? No, it did not happen. James Conner dominated the work, 16 carries, 106 yards and a touchdown. Looked very good in that game. Benny Snell, 3 carries, 5 yards, and a lost fumble. Tough situation for fantasy owners who use Snell this week. Again, all these situations are very scary for fantasy owners. Hopefully, you don't have to deal with many of these backs on your roster. But if you do, it's going to be a crapshoot for me from week to week. I hate to say it. We'll keep an eye on them going forward, though, and keep you posted here on the Real-Time Fantasy Sports Show and as well in all of our content. So those are my 5 fantasy takeaways for week 2 of the fantasy season. Hopefully you had a lot of success, avoided some of these major injuries that took place as well. And I look forward to bringing you more videos throughout the week and content as well. We have stuff going up every day and to help you get ready for week 3 of the fantasy season. So this has been Jeff Paur for Real-Time Fantasy Sports. Have a great day, everyone.